All right, let's take a look at some of these visuals. Of course, a story that we have been monitoring for you, of course, of the body of the Queen being transported from Balmoral. That's, of course, to London, and certainly this is a story that we'll be monitoring for you throughout the course of today. This is, of course, mourners have been sending their condolences also outside Buckingham Palace. And the state funeral of Her Majesty, the Queen, will take place at Westminster Abbey. This is on Monday, the 19th of September. Prior, of course, to the funeral that will take place, the Queen will lie in state in Westminster Hall for 4 days to allow the public to pay their respects. So the Queen's coffin had been resting in the ballroom at Balmoral Castle, and of course is travelling from Balmoral to Edinburgh at this particular point. I'm going to bring in SABC News international editor Sophie Mukwena. You said about 6 hours, Ms. Sophie, is what is the time that it will take for this procession to reach its destination.
Yes, it is almost an hour now, and I think 5 hours left before the coffin arrives in Edinburgh. And we know that, as we earlier indicated, Princess Anne is accompanying the coffin, and we expect the King to be there on Monday also, where the public in Edinburgh will be able to view the body. And before the body is taken to Balmoral, but it will be on its way to Buckingham Palace or London.
I mean, in terms of the significance of this moment, we did touch on it a bit earlier on. You know, the final resting in a couple of days of the British Queen Elizabeth II, the final send-off for her, accompanied also by sweeping changes across in the UK, both in terms of leadership there, as well as what we're seeing in terms of what's happening in the castle and what is happening in terms of 10 Downing Street. That's quite important too.
Very important. It was barely 24 hours.
Yeah.
The Queen had done the official duties of officially announcing and saying that the Prime Minister is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Liz Truss. And people were still coming to terms with those changes and the appointment of members of the cabinet, when suddenly there was this big breaking story. And therefore you have a situation where government is still trying to sort itself, and now government also has to play a prominent role in terms of this development. Now, in the processes, the activities of the final journey of the British Queen. And then you have a situation, the young generation in the family, like I pointed out, having to adapt to the new situation. As I pointed out, perhaps we can now return to those visuals of the young family members to see how they have started to try and adjust. Where you saw them yesterday, for the first time, putting a brave face, a united force, and the big brother, William, taking a decision that this is what the Queen would have wanted. And therefore, going forward, knowing that they will have to now begin to be part of the transformation of the house in terms of preparing themselves to take responsibilities, particularly William. You heard the King of England yesterday saying that he will do his work to his best of his ability while he still have days on earth, and predicting that I'm very senior, and therefore anything can happen. And if anything happens, William is next in line.
There is so much scrutiny of these children both on social media, in the press in the UK. I mean, just aspects of where Meghan is holding the hand of her husband, how her husband had even opened the door for her. I found it quite fascinating in that we know what the relationship has been between, the royals and Meghan, her presence there, and how her husband seemingly showing, and you actually spoke about, take a look at that hug. You spoke about that earlier on, the significance of some of the people in that country saying, we're with you, we stand with you, and your presence here is also as important as the other children or grandchildren here. You're one of us. So much scrutiny of some of the most, I don't know if I can call it trivial things. You'll see the door opening in just a moment. I found it quite fascinating because all of this is what speaks to the relationship that these children have. And I guess the show of unity that we've continuously been speaking about, which they need to show. I mean, the simple opening of that door is just such scrutiny. I found it quite fascinating how the most simple nitty-gritties are being, what do you call it? It's
debated.
Debated. It's crazy.
Yeah, from childhood, when they were still toddlers with their mother, Princess Diana, they are so used to clicking of cameras.
Yeah.
And they have come to understand that wherever they are, whatever they do, people are watching, and paparazzis are there, officially or unofficial. And therefore, who can forget those visuals you'd recall when Princess Diana passed on, when both William and Harry were part of the family who were walking behind the coffin of Princess Diana. To date, they are saying that was the most traumatic experience. But look today, perhaps it was a preparation to many other events or engagements that they will have to undertake at difficult times. And yesterday you could see that these people are now used to this kind of public scrutiny and perhaps to do what they are supposed to do. You'd recall they went out before the funeral of Princess Diana with the Queen and Prince Philip to meet and greet and accept condolences outside Buckingham Palace. And then today they are doing it again. And who can forget the visuals when they went to Lesotho, when they were still teenagers, wearing those old Basotho blankets in the mountain kingdom, humbling themselves. So I think many, journeys that they have traveled have kind of assisted them to be strong. So yesterday you saw mature human beings willing to put their differences aside in the name of ensuring that United Kingdom is in one.
These live pictures, Buckingham Palace, outside there's scores of people, I'm sure into their thousands, of course, streaming in as the British Queen Elizabeth II's body. You will see on the right-hand side of our screen there, that procession leaving Scotland, and of course Balmoral is where she had passed away. So on your right-hand side, that procession there, those live pictures, and on your left-hand side is where you continue to see live pictures outside Buckingham Palace. I think the people of the United Kingdom will be looking at this particular stage too with much scrutiny, how the proclaimed king now will take this country forward, and some of the commitments that is already made in terms of the baton that has now been handed to him. Massive scrutiny about how the affairs of that country will be conducted, and whether he will hold that in good stead and with the kind of stature that the people in the UK have described as applaudable, I guess.
Yes, and people are watching. Yesterday, during that proclamation, there are videos, or a video that has went viral, where it looks like he was impatient. When he looked at the table, it was messy. He didn't know where to put the documents, and his body language was not so good, and he was captured by the cameras, and people are beginning to ask a question whether what you are saying is actually what you are going to practice, and this is what you are doing behind the scenes. He reached out on Friday when he spoke about his love for Harry and Meghan. So the question is, behind a glare of cameras and microphones, are you really demonstrating that love, to Meghan and to Harry, to kind of bring back, members of the family, because they are members of the family. And therefore, these are the things that people will judge him for. And on Friday, when I listened to the tone of his speech, the king, I could hear that he understands, he's fully aware that it can't be business as usual. You can't have monarchy operating in the same olden days. You have to adapt and to adjust. But the question is, what changes are going to be there? What can we expect? And whether when he was talking about William, he was saying, I will continue with what's already here. I don't have time, and I'm old, I'm senior. I won't be able to make major changes. Maybe the new generation will have to pave a way forward, Griselda.
Ms. Sophie, thank you very much indeed. We really appreciate it once again on the show. Those live pictures that you see on our right of the British Queen Elizabeth II's body being transported from Balmoral to Edinburgh, and the scores of people who continue to line up and share their messages of condolence. They're also obviously perhaps going to get a glimpse of that procession as it arrives. It will, of course, be, since the passing of the Queen, the first time that they're able to get a glimpse of that procession, as, of course, you would have known, the British Queen passing on in Balmoral. So hence, now her remains are being transported from Balmoral to Edinburgh, and we're expecting over the next couple of days many more events to unfold in the run-up, of course, to the final send-off, which is on the 19th of September. Ms. Sophie, thanks indeed for your time once again on the programme.